Hey, Caroline here. Today I've got a practice to focus on the low back. So I often have questions about how to support a low back that's tender or sore. Myself included, I do have some low back issues. And this sequence is one that I often use when I'm feeling a bit agitated or uncomfortable in my low back. But it can equally be used as more of a preventative measure. So something that you can repeat as a way to prevent low back discomfort. So you often hear people say that for your low back to be healthy, you need a strong core, and that's true. You do need some strength in the core musculature. But also what we're going to focus on today is some of the other muscles that surround your lower back. So this would be your hips, your inner thighs, your inner legs, and your hamstrings. Because when these areas are tense and tight, they tend to pull your pelvis out of alignment, and that brings discomfort to your low back. So we'll be focused on some of that musculature as well as a little bit of strengthening for the core. So join me on your backs to begin with. We're going to come into a constructive rest position, which just means that you're lying back with your knees bent. So as you come down onto your back, allowing the arms just to rest heavily at your sides. The eyes might be closed or the eyes might be open. And before we do anything else, I want you to just listen to your body. So turn the attention inside. Notice how you're feeling. Bringing the attention to your back body resting on the floor. Notice if you do feel tension in your spine and in your back, where is it situated? And then bringing your focus to your breath. Noticing what the natural rhythm of your breath is without the need to change your breathing at all. Notice how the breath is moving. Oftentimes when we are in chronic pain, we start to breathe in a short, quick, shallow way. So just notice what the movement of your breath is like before we begin to control our breathing at all. And then bringing your attention to your navel, right down to your belly button. Noticing if you can sense any movement there as you breathe in. And then we begin to control our breath by ensuring that as we breathe in, our stomach is ballooning out. And as you breathe out, you're relaxing the stomach muscles back down. Breathing in, the belly's allowed to expand, and breathing out, it softens back down. Just doing that for a few more cycles of breath. Just trying to break any patterns of short, shallow breath by bringing the breath deeper down into the body. Let's take 3 more full cycles of breath there. Doing your best to keep that breath smooth and even. Before we move the body, we're going to just push gently into the feet and lift the hips just slightly away from the floor. So the buttocks come up and away from the floor, and lengthen the tailbone down a little bit. So it feels as if you're kind of tucking the tailbone and lifting it towards the ceiling and then placing it back down, just to bring a little bit more length into the low back. And then situating the feet here about hip distance apart. And just maintaining that natural curvature in your lower back, so there's a little bit of a lift. You don't have to actively pull the low back away from the floor, but you have that natural curve in that lower part of your back. Allowing the shoulders to rest on the floor, so notice if there's tension there in the shoulders, the neck, or the jaw, and see if you can soften that down and away. We're just going to begin with some real gentle pelvic movement here. So as you breathe in, you're going to push down gently into the feet and lift the hips up towards the ceiling. And as you breathe out, you're going to take that back down, so your back comes back down onto the floor. And just do that a couple more times. Inhale, lifting up. And as you exhale and bring your back down to the floor, draw your belly muscles back towards the spine. One more time. Inhale, lifting the low back up and away from the floor. And exhale, bring it back down. Good. I'm going to take the feet up away from the floor and bring the knees up into the chest. You might like to hold the knees or the backs of the thighs and gently begin to rock yourself side to side. Just getting a sense of what is happening in your lower back. Is there some acute tension or pain there at the moment? Good. Then you're going to release your hold on the legs, but keep them lifted away from the floor and extend your arms out and away from your body. Breathing in here at the center. And as you breathe out, you're going to allow the knees to drop part of the way over to the left. You want to keep your right shoulder grounded. Inhale, draw the knees back up to the center, and exhale over the other way. Back to center as you breathe in, following your breath. Exhale, dropping the other way, grounding through the shoulders. Back to center, inhale, and exhale down the other way. One more time each way. Exhale, the knees drop over. Inhale, back to center. Exhale, over the other way. Good. And then back to center. Dropping your feet back down to the floor, taking the arms back down to the sides of your body. Nice full breath in. Open your mouth and sigh that breath out. Now I should have mentioned at the start of this that a strap or a belt, a towel, anything that you can use to wrap around your foot might be useful at this stage. You don't have to have it, but if you do, at this point we're going to hug the right knee in and bring the foot to bring the strap to wrap around the foot. Now if you don't have anything that you can use on your leg here, you can certainly just take hold of the back of the leg without using the prop. So before we go any further, I want you to ensure that your low back hasn't gotten already really tense and tight. So there are a few things that you can do here. You might play around with this left leg. You may lengthen it and notice how that changes the tension in the low back. You might like to keep it bent. So deciding on that first off. And then with the lifted leg, it does not matter if it's vertical or not. What I want you to do is straighten the leg. And that might mean that your leg comes out in front of you. And then from there, just some gentle pressure, a little bit of pulling on the strap as you draw the leg towards you. And it doesn't have to come far at all. Stop the moment that you start to feel tension at the back of the leg, stretching into the hamstrings. And you want to ensure that by stretching the hamstrings, you don't add a whole lot of tension in the upper body and the neck. So let the hands slide down the strap if you're using it and soften the shoulders back towards the floor. If you have hands to legs, maybe slide them down the legs so you're able to relax as much as you can through the upper body. We're going to take 3 more breaths here, getting into the back of that right leg. So again, trying to access some of the muscles around the low back so that their tension doesn't pull your pelvis out of alignment and then bring tension into the low back. Good. From here, you're going to take, if you're using the strap, both sides of the strap into your right hand. If you're not, you can just take the hand onto the outside of your right leg. And you're going to start to allow the leg to drop over to the right. It does not have to come far. Again, you're just looking for that place where you start to feel tension at the inner thigh. Stretching some of these muscles here in the inner seam of your leg. With that left leg, you might choose to have it straight, or you might bend it again. Good. We'll take 1 more breath here. Pushing out through that right heel as you bring the leg back up to center. We're going to take the leg across the body now, so you might hold the leg with the left hand or take the straps into the left hand. Take the right arm and extend it away from you, crossing the body with your right leg. Don't allow the right hip to come up off the floor too much. Again, you're just looking to feel some sensation in the outer seam of the leg now. Maybe right up and into your right hip. Just 1 more breath here. And we'll inhale, bring it back up to center. Bend the knee so that you can release the strap if you have it. And then you're going to take your foot and bring it onto your straight left leg. Hold on to your right knee with your left hand, and again, stretch that right arm away from you. And just slowly begin to roll yourself over to your left side. You might not have to come very far before you start to feel sensation in the right hip, and the right side of the body, into the right rib cage. Good. Inhale, bringing yourself back to center. Exhale. Let's release that leg long. Stretch the arms up overhead, taking a nice full body stretch. Bringing the arms back down to the side of the body and bending the knees. So we're going to now work on the other side, bringing the left knee up towards the chest first. If you're using that prop, you might wrap the strap or the towel or the belt around the left foot. Again, you don't need a strap. You can take the hands to the back of that leg instead. So stretching the leg until it straightens. So that may mean that the leg is way out in front of you. It may come more vertical. And then deciding how to position the right leg to ensure that you're not adding tension into the low back. So if the low back is feeling very tight, maybe change the position of that leg and see if you can release some of that tension. Again, you're maintaining as much as you can that natural curve in your lumbar spine, in that lower part of your back. And notice as well if your front ribs are popping up away from the floor, and just gently knit them back into the body. Good. And then we're just working to create some stretching, some sensation at the back of your left leg, and that might not take much at all. So you may gently begin to pull the strap, noticing what you encounter in the back of that leg. It may be different from the other side. You're not pulling so much as to add tension in the shoulders and the neck, trying to stay as soft as you can in the upper body. Breathing a couple more breaths here. Good. Taking the straps into your left hand, or maybe placing your hand at the outside of your left leg. Begin to open that leg out to the left. And you may find that the support of a pillow or a book, or if you have a yoga block underneath that thigh, would be helpful here. You're just letting the leg open until you start to feel Some sensation at the inner leg, stretching those muscles at the inner leg, which again could be tight and pulling your pelvis out of alignment. You might let that left elbow rest on the floor, whether you're using the strap or have hand to leg. One more breath here. Drawing your leg back up to center, push out through that left heel, and we cross the leg over the body, extending the left arm now away from you. You don't have to come far here. Try and keep that left hip more or less grounded, keeping the left shoulder grounded as you reach that leg across the body. Feeling that stretch come right down the outside seam of your leg. Good. Inhale, bring it back up to center, releasing the belt or the strap. Bend your knee and bring your foot to rest on your straight right leg. Using your right hand on your bent knee, you're going to draw the knee across the body. And again, you're not trying to get anywhere in particular, but rather notice the sensation that comes up as you come into this twist. You may end up on your right side, you may stay on your back. Let's take 2 more breaths here. Good. And then we're going to rock ourselves back onto our back. Stretch the legs long, stretch the arms up overhead, and take another full body stretch. And then we'll circle the arms back around and bend the knees. So for this next pose, a yoga block might come in handy, but you can equally do this with a pillow or a blanket that's been folded up, and you're going to place that between your thighs, and you're going to squeeze the block. So we're working again to turn on some of those muscles in the legs as we work to strengthen the core at the same time. So you're squeezing the block, using the muscles of the legs as strongly as you can. And you're going to extend the arms down to the sides of your body and lift them up away from the floor. Take a breath in. As you breathe out, pull the belly gently back towards the spine and lifting the head and the shoulders up and away from the floor. Keep squeezing the block as you lift and reach forward with your arms, pulling the belly gently back to the spine, supporting the low back. One more breath here. And we release back down onto the floor. Take the arms overhead. Take a moment there. We'll do one more of those. The arms circle back and around, hovering above the floor. Inhale, squeeze the block. Exhale, draw the belly back and lift. Head and shoulders up away from the floor. Reaching forward as you continue to squeeze the block. Good. Last breath, and then we release. Removing that prop from between the legs, stretching the body long. Good. Arms come back down, bend the knees, and roll yourself to one side so that you can safely bring yourself up and into a tabletop position. So working to create a bit of stability in the front body as a way to, again, support the low back. So in your all fours position, ensure that you have a safe alignment here of wrists under shoulders, knees about hip distance apart. Take the front body, even bringing a hand to the belly or the front ribs, and gently pull it up towards the back body. Without rounding the back, it's just a sense of support coming from the front body, drawing up towards the back. Then we're going to take the left leg back behind you, straighten that leg. Again, find that support at your center, pulling up, and then lift the foot up away from the floor. It doesn't have to come up very high at all. And then slide the right fingertips forward. Continue to reach forward as you lift that arm up and away. Balancing here, return to the breath. Notice that tendency to hold the breath. Doing your best to prioritize the breathing. If it is too difficult to breathe and hold this balance, bring your hand back down. Last breath here, and we return the hand and the knee to the floor. Straight into the other side, but first make sure you have that support of drawing front body to back. Extend the right leg back, gently lifting the foot up away from the floor. Breath is smooth and easy as you reach the left arm forward, lifting into your balance here. Maintain that support. Front body gently hugging towards back. Breath remains free and easy. Inhale. Release. Hand and knee come down to the floor. Take your knees slightly wider than hip distance apart and bring your big toes to touch. Gently push your hips backwards and bring yourself down to rest in child's pose. Feel free to support the forehead with a prop if it does not easily touch the floor. Taking 3 full cycles of breath here in your child's pose. Noticing how the low back feels. See if you can direct the breath into your lumbar spine, that low back area, in an effort to create space in that part of the body. Good. Next, in breath, pull yourself back up into your table. So we're going to come to use a block, or if you have a book that's slightly thick, we can use that as well. So you're going to take the block, come to your tabletop, and you're going to slide the block underneath your left knee. So you still have your knees hip distance apart. All you've done is add a block underneath that one knee. Your hands are resting, wrists under the shoulders. So we're working here to strengthen some of the deeper hip muscles right now on the right side. You're going to inhale and lift your right knee up away from the floor, so it's like your thigh bone is pulling up into the socket, and exhale, bring it back down. Inhale, lift that right knee up and away. Exhale, bring it down. Inhale, up. Exhale, down. Inhale, up. Exhale, down, and last one. Inhale, right leg lifts, and take it back down. Good. Slide the block or the book away. Come into all fours. Both knees on the floor. Inhale, lift the tailbone, allow the belly to drop. Shoulders draw back. Cow pose. Exhale, push the floor away, round, especially into the upper back. If you do have some tension and pain in the low back, don't worry about rounding into the low back. Just the shoulders rounding. Inhale, drop the belly, lift the tailbone. Exhale and round. Coming back to neutral, just as we did before, find that sense of support, front body drawing up towards back. Slide the prop underneath your right knee. Inhale, left knee lifts up away from the floor. Exhale, drop it back down. Inhale, it lifts up. Exhale, back down. Working to strengthen some of those deeper hip muscles here on the left side. 2 more times. Up and down. Inhale, up. And exhale, down. Good. We'll slide that prop out of the way. And again, setting yourself up before we come into down dog to ensure that we're lifting safely. Wrists under shoulders, knees under hips. Tuck your toes. Shift your seat back first. We're going to focus here more on length in the spine than on stretching the backs of your legs. So I really want you to push into the hands, almost as if you're coming into child's pose, sitting your seat back. Then look at your knees and peel them up away from the floor. Keep a deep bend in your knees and continue to push the hands so that you can feel that length that comes into the side body as you stretch your hips up towards the ceiling. From there, adding that paddling, bicycling of the legs a few times, noticing if it would help at all to shake out your head. Feel free to add some movement there. Noticing other places in your body here where you feel a sense of gripping or tension. It may be sitting in the jaw, in which case you might open and close the mouth a few times. Noticing if you're scowling, softening that space between your eyebrows. Good. One last breath here in your downward facing dog. And we're going to bring the knees back down onto the floor and bring the forearms down to rest. Slowly walk your knees backwards and bring yourself down onto your belly. So we're coming into a gentle back bend here. So one of the things we can do for our low back, if it is feeling tense or uncomfortable, is to add some gentle extension, so some gentle back bending here. So this is called Sphinx Pose. You're going to have your elbows under your shoulders, or maybe slightly forward of that if this position already feels too intense in your back. So find that position with your elbows that works for you, keeping your forearms more or less in line with the elbows. So you're going to push down into the elbows, into the forearms, and see if you can lift up a little bit through the crown of the head. Hugging your low belly up away from the floor as a way to protect the low back. And then see if you can take the shoulders back and draw the chest forward. Taking a couple more breaths here. Good. Then you're going to let the elbows come wide, stack the hands on top of each other, and let your forehead come down to rest on your hands. Ensure that you allow your legs to relax here, even wiggling the ankles or the heels back and forth a couple of times. And then gently bringing yourself back up into that Sphinx position so that your elbows have come back under your shoulders. And we're going to lift up into a forearm plank. So we have two variations of this pose. You can choose the one that suits you best today. You're going to push down into the hands just like you did before and down into the forearms. And then you're going to lift the low belly up and away from the floor and lift the hips and the thighs up and away from the floor as well. So that might be strong enough, keeping your knees there on the floor. Keep hugging up through the belly. If you want to take it that next step further, you can tuck the toes under and lift your knees up as well, ensuring that you're not sagging down in your belly and adding tension in your low back. So hug up gently through the belly. See if you can bring the chest forward. Just one more breath here. And then we'll release the knees back down. Take the hands now and slide them under the shoulders. Roll the shoulders up to your ears and then back and push them down away from the ears. Toenails are resting on the floor. Lower belly hugging up away from the floor. Kneecaps hugging up away from the floor. Inhale. Gently press into your hands to lift up into your Cobra Pose. Exhale. Lower yourself back down. 2 more times. Inhale, lifting up. Only lifting as far up as you need to feel sensation. You don't have to go any further than that. Inhale, don't push into pain. Don't struggle against the pose. Exhale to release back down. Inhale, this time we're going to use the low belly, hug it up, and pull up all the way into our tabletop. Let's take an active version of Child's Pose to counter that bit of back bending. Sitting back and stretching the arms forward. Let the head drop down. This time it might hover. It might touch the floor. Just a couple breaths here. You might even wiggle the hips side to side. Good. Let the hands slide back towards the knees and bring yourself up onto the knees. Let's step the left foot forward. Bring the hands onto the left knee, and as you lunge forward, push into that leg to draw the front body away from that front left thigh. So you're drawing back through the belly and lengthening down through the tailbone. Just ensuring that you don't allow the belly and the front ribs to pop forward here and add stress in your low back. So you're going to pull that all back in as you lunge forward. Taking another full breath here. And then we're going to add a twist. So you're going to take the hands together, pushing left against right. Take the right elbow over onto that left thigh and twist. Keep lunging forward, so you're still bending into that left knee. One more breath there. Good. Untwist. Release the hands and just step that front foot back. Taking those same couple of poses on the other side. Inhale here, and as you exhale, hands come to the front thigh, lunging forward, but at the same time pushing back gently against that leg to keep the torso upright. So just ensuring that you don't drop forward and add a lot of strain in the low back. You're pulling gently back through the belly and lengthening the tailbone right down to the floor beneath you. Easy breath, breathing in and out. Join the hands together, pushing your left palm against your right, turning to your right as you bring your elbow to your thigh. Gentle twist for a couple of breaths. Good. Inhale. And as you exhale, release that. Bring your knee back so you're back up on your knees. Hands come to the floor. Inhale. Exhale here. Sliding the left knee forward towards the left wrist. We're going to come into Pigeon Pose. So the first option is to take your hip stretch like this. Left foot slides in front of your right thigh and the right knee walks backwards. So the idea here is to keep the hips from going out of line with each other. If you come to rest on your left sit bone, and you might be more well supported by a prop, you're going to take a blanket or a pillow and place it underneath your left sit bone. Inhale here, and exhale as you begin to walk the hands forward. Pausing at that place where you're met with some significant tension. Be with it just for a few breaths. If this is causing you any pain or discomfort in your knee or your groins, the alternative is to come onto your back and take this pose with the ankle resting on the opposite thigh, drawing the leg in towards you. One more breath here. Walking the hands in. Hug the belly up and lift back to all fours. If you're on your back, releasing both feet to the floor. Just move yourself once through cat and cow, or let your knees drop side to side from your back. Coming back to center, we work on the right side, sliding the right knee towards the right wrist. Getting that foot to come in front of the left thigh and bringing the left knee back. Doing what you need to do to ensure that your hips stay level here. And then maybe walking the hands forward. If you're on your back, you're bringing your right ankle onto your left thigh, drawing the left leg in towards you. Releasing some of this tight, grippy tension that gets held in the outer hips and in the buttocks muscles, which again can pull the pelvis a little bit out of alignment and result in low back pain. Just one more breath here. Good. From your front, you're walking the hands back in, lifting the hips and returning to a tabletop. From your back, both feet to the floor. Maybe the knees drop side to side. From your front, you might work through cat and cow. Good. If you're lying down, just rolling to your side to sit up. If you're on all fours, you're going to come to sit. Using a prop underneath your seat if you are feeling tense in the low back at the moment. It really does help alleviate some of that tension and buildup of strain in the low back. We're going to just take a seated twist here. Your legs might be cross-legged as mine are, but you can certainly do this with the legs out in front of you if that's more comfortable. So let's take the left hand to the floor and use that to push down into the floor, ensuring that our spine lifts up nice and tall. Good. And as you breathe out, you're going to turn to your left, using your right hand along the leg to help you into the twist, but you're not muscling into the twist. Using the exhalations to twist, pausing on that inhalation, encouraging length in your spine, and exhaling to twist. One more breath in your twist. And we'll untwist and come back to center. Bring the right hand down to the floor, using that to lengthen. So it's that pressure of pushing down, seat grounding, crown of the head lifting, crossing over with the left arm as you breathe out, twisting. 2 more full breaths in your twist. Breathing in, pause in the twist. As you empty the lungs, twisting. 1 more breath here. Good. Releasing your twist, coming back to center. Making your way down to your back. If you do have a block or a pillow or something you can put between your thighs, have that handy. Just come down onto your back for one last form before we rest. So we're going to take bridge pose, and if you have a block, we're going to use the block or the pillow. If you don't have to use it. It's just one way of getting you again to turn on those inner thigh muscles that can help to support the low back. So you're going to take the block on its thinnest setting and bring it between your thighs. Just like we did when we were strengthening our core earlier, you're going to squeeze the block with your inner thighs. Let the arms rest at the sides of your body. Your feet will be as far apart as they need to be in order to get that real engagement of those inner leg muscles. So you're continuing to squeeze as you lift the hips up and away from the floor. It doesn't matter how high up you lift. Just continue that squeezing movement. Inner thighs drawing in towards each other. If you don't have anything to squeeze, that's okay. Just imagining those inner thigh muscles working to draw in towards each other. Grounding through the feet. Knees feel as if they're moving a little bit away from you and heels drawing back towards you. Let's take 1 more breath here in our bridge. And then gently release your back to the floor. If you're using the prop, just taking it out, placing it to the side, and bringing the knees one at a time up towards the chest. Gentle movement here, side to side, massaging into the low back. You might like to make some circles with your knees, taking the circles one way and then the other. And then coming back to center, placing your hands on top of your knees with your fingers pointing towards your feet, and push the arms long. So you're pushing the knees away from you to lengthen the low back. Push the low back down into the floor. Bring the knees back in, inhale, and 1 more time. Exhale, lengthen, push the knees away and push the low back into the floor. Good. Let your feet fall to the floor. Arms rest at your side, finding a position that feels supportive in your low back so that you can rest for a few minutes to finish off your practice. If you are experiencing low back pain, I would really recommend keeping your knees bent or even propping your legs with a pillow underneath your knees. So find that place where your body can let go, where you don't have to focus on physical discomfort. Allowing yourself these few moments to absorb the nutrients of your practice, to really feel what you've just done, the space that you've created in your body, the space that you've created in your mind and in your breath. So I encourage you to stay here for as long as you can, noticing the effect that the practice has had on you physically, on you mentally, on you emotionally. When you feel ready to be done, telling yourself thank you for spending the time looking after yourself, and gently bringing yourself upright.